Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea. Welcome back to another best of 3. Today in the top right spawn in as the red Zerg player playing for Team Alpha X. It is Ragnarok. And in the bottom left, I don't know what this actually says. All I know is that this is Haas, who is keeping his first pylon on his own side of the map today. So we already have a bit of a switch up from him. No scout coming out of the Taiwanese Protoss player and a gas first. A bit of a classic Haas build. Haas tends to have two modes, I want to call it. It's either the Ultra Greed or it's the Ultra Aggression. And usually the Ultra Greed also leads into Ultra Aggression. So curious to see where this is going to go exactly. Ragnarok is moving out on the map with his first drone. He's been doing this a lot in recent ZVPs. Scouting for, well, I'm not quite sure what actually. And no, usually actually just sends it to the other side. I guess because this is Haas, he decides to scout around the map for any proxy gates. Didn't find any because there's none there. And now he's going to preemptively. Out of all the areas he could preemptively block, he's going to pick this one. I think this is the easiest cannon rush to actually beat. There's one over here that's a lot more powerful. Like pylon over here, and then you can do pylon outside, pylon, and you can re-wall stuff. So this probably would be the key area to block rather than this area, but most Zergs, or a lot of Zergs for whatever reason, don't really seem too keen on actually learning cannon positions. But whenever they lose to a cannon rush, they're sure very keen on complaining about the fact that they lost to a cannon rush. I'm giving you some free advice here, Zerg players. Just get a probe, infinite minerals in a custom game, and start looking for cannon positions. See where you can re-wall, and then decide where you want to preemptively patrol your drone. Might be more useful than doing this left side area. That isn't even keeping the ramp either. So, terrible, terrible stuff. Alright, enough with the negativity. Stalker first coming out of Haas here. He's also getting a quick warp gate. Interesting to see what he's going to do with this. We don't usually see Stalker first. And luckily for Haas, there is a couple of links on the way. Forge, okay. And a sentry. So Stalker sentry into Forge. It's a build order that is not only extremely uncommon, but also considered to be really bad. Overlord speed. Yeah, this should honestly just be kind of good for Ragnarok. Ragnarok is really afraid, by the way. It's obvious to me that he's really afraid. I like what he's doing, though. Cancelling his link speed, because he sees the fact that it's Stalker first. Now he'll see, well, I'm not quite sure if he saw that sentry, but I think he might have just seen it. And he says, okay, the money that I was going to spend to get that speed for the links, I'll now just spend to get speed for the Overlords. And I think that's actually going to work out beautifully. It wouldn't surprise me if he decides to completely cancel link speed and just go into a faster road warring, kind of like you would sometimes do in ZVZ, where if you're playing like a 2-base opener, you don't get speed whatsoever, and you just completely rely on roaches. I mean, against a player like Haas, I think that might actually not be such a bad thing if he opens up with Stalker first. Now, this Overlord's gonna pop in, see that quick Forge, also spot the Twilight. The reason why this build, by the way, that Haas is doing isn't so great is because it allows the Zerg player to drone up for free to a drone count that they desire. It really can get up to 66, 75 at times, because the first pressure that's going to come out of Haas will hit so ridiculously late that you basically can have 3 fully saturated bases. There's now charge, there's +1 on the way. He still needs a robo if he ever wants to get aggressive. We see Haas is already taking a 3rd base, but there's really nothing coming out of this that is going to be even remotely dangerous in the next minute or time. I'm surprised that... 5 roaches? 7 roaches. I guess Ragnarok wants to attack? As a defensive measure, this makes absolutely no sense. And even as a move out of aggression, this is kind of weird, honestly. So, this has the feeling of a Queen Walk, a triple gas Queen Walk. It is being done of 3 gas. There's a lair on the way as well, but it got scouted immediately here by this hallucination. Honestly, a single battery should be able to take care of that. You have such fast 4 gates. Your +1 is done already. Like, it is way easier to defend this if you don't open Stargate than it is to defend this when you do open Stargate. Because usually you rely so much on the Void Ray and the Oracle that when the Queens arrive, you don't actually have any ground units. But now it's just going to be a ground unit versus ground unit fight, and you have +1 on your ground units already. This is kind of what you want if you're Haas, I think. He should start cranking out Immortals the moment he can, though. Yep, there we go. Haas actually with a very clean response as well. These 2 batteries are stacked on top of one another, which means they can be double barreled. That is a bit of a mistake, but the rest of this honestly looks really good. These links are going to be, well, I don't want to say completely useless, but kind of useless because there's +1 already on these Zealots, which means they will 2-shot the links. I think 1 more warp in and he just goes for it. No, oh, doesn't micro away the Zealot in the wall. That's a bad start for the fight, honestly, for Haas. So all of the Zealots get surrounded. Still gets an okay-ish trade, I want to say. Super Battery is being activated right now. Bile's hitting everything. Oh my god. I really didn't think this was going to be possible, but Ragnarok, well, he's still not going to kill him. But Haas had to make a very big, well, he didn't have to make a very big worker cut, but he made a very big worker cut. And now Ragnarok's position is, actually, I'm not even sure how great it is. I mean, I'm looking at this, and he's right now 62 workers against 52. He's going to be down 2 upgrades. He's starting his Evo chamber now. I think Ragnarok, rather than this, could have just been on like 75 workers, +1, maybe 70% done as well. And he could have had a larger roach force, like, or almost, he could start building roaches at this point. Infestation pit. It's very funny that whenever people play against Haas, it's like they completely forget that they can just play a normal game. People sometimes ascribe some type of magical power to Haas to make wine out of water or something. But he also has the same tools that other Protosses have. He just uses them different. If you give Haas a hammer, rather than hitting a nail in a wall, he will, I don't know, he will hit you with the hammer, which sounds a lot better if you're trying to fight someone. But I don't know, it feels like people just start playing worse and not necessarily hard countering Haas. Look, I'm all for hard countering people if you know what they're gonna do, but this obviously wasn't a hard counter. This was just like a really weird all-in that if you think about it for a little longer, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now Ragnarok finds himself in a position where he's going to be stuck in 3 bases, and Haas is actually playing this off of 3 gas. So almost like a PvT type of build order he's playing that. He also has armor on his Zealots, so it really does feel a lot like a PvT build order. Against this, actually, Banelings are fantastic. And the reason for that is obviously because there's so many Zealots that a handful of Banelings can just completely destroy this push. Because if you don't count the Zealots, it's an army of 1 Immortal, 1 Archon, an Adept, 3 Stalkers and a Sentry. It is not a very powerful army. So, yeah, these low gas compositions aren't actually that good. We're going to have a RoboBay on the way right now as well. 2nd robotics facility. No 4th base yet, though. I wouldn't mind seeing a 3rd upgrade either. Okay, he's already chronoing it, so he probably wants to get something. He's going to need more gas to get all of these expensive tools out, though. I actually believe that if Ragnarok survives for another minute or so, he's actually going to be in a fine position, just because the gas is for such a weird build out of Haas. And this is what I'm talking about. It just isn't that good, I think. It really just isn't that good. This gasless type of playstyle. The main units that you need against Zerg are almost always going to be gas units. Going to be your Archons, your Immortals, your Disruptors. Upgrades are important. Eventually you want to transition into air or maybe into storm. All of that just costs a lot of gas. And Zealots are great against Terran because they don't have such consistent splash as the Baneling. The Widowmine usually does a fine job, but you can get very good surrounds and the Widowmine can be pretty much nullified. Against the Baneling, that's not really possible. The Baneling's always going to connect and it just completely destroys a large Zealot count. Once again, I'm really surprised too. Rather than going for Ravagerling Bane, that Ragnarok actually opts to go for Roach, Hydra into Lurkers, because it feels like that's a composition that can actually lose to an army like this. At least in that transition phase. First Disruptor is now coming out as well. 2nd and 3rd Disruptor on the way. +2 attack coming in as well. As the 4th base is being blocked here. The 4th base of Ragnarok is also being taken out. Ragnarok is just... He's playing this like as if he, when Seismic Spines finishes, that's just going to straight up win the game. I'm not so sure if that is true. There's still going to be a period where there's no Vipers. There's going to be 4 to 5 Disruptors. And without adaptive talent, dodging Disruptor shots is difficult. This is a good spread though. Real nice out of Ragnarok. I do like that. Is there even an Observer with this army? There is. Haas just kind of going to ignore it. Can start throwing a couple of balls. Oh my god. Ragnarok just face first walking into those Disruptor shots. Now triple Vipers on the way. So no real anticipation was here for those Disruptors. I actually think Haas has a pretty decent chance of just moving into this. Oh, Prism gets taken out. We're at 5 Disruptors currently. Prism did just die, which is bad, but I still believe that Haas, if he can get into any type of position, can just straight up win the game. His army is massive. His opponent's army consists of 30 roaches. And for whatever reason, Ragnarok is not spotting this right side move out now. Needs to immediately rotate his own lurkers back to a better defensive position. But that means that they start clumping up. Oh, one Disruptor shot hits 2 of the lurkers. I actually think that Haas had a great start of the fight. One of his Disruptors that was going to kill these lurkers actually got killed. There's a lot of money in the bank as well here for Haas. Still some larvae. Now the Vipers are out. Yeah, but if there was a Prism here, I think the game actually would have straight up ended. However, because it isn't, Haas now needs to go for another rotation. He's going to have 3 robotics facilities. He's pumping out triple Disruptors. At the same time, this Observer, oh, good control. Haas actually controlling that Observer. Was rallied towards Spore. Real nice. Takes another bite out of Ragnarok's army with a Disruptor shot. Nothing in the wall, by the way. Just Disruptors being rallied straight across the map. 5 Disruptors are out. How many abducts do we have? We're at, well, 8, I think. That should be plenty. That should be plenty to deal with these Disruptors. However, the Disruptor shots might arrive before the lurkers do. Disruptor shots mainly hitting the own Zealots, though. Don't wanna abduct Disruptors that have that type of plan. Another Disruptor shot going for that lurker. Archons being pulled in. Stalkers, 2 Disruptors now going down as well. Yep, both of them will fall. Another Disruptor getting pulled in. This Disruptor shot is absolutely just going to whiff. Kind of an aggressive game here out of Haas. Who's still on 3 base, by the way. I didn't realize, but he got blocked by this Overlord and he decided that taking a 4th base wasn't needed anymore. Okay, that's easy to change his mind. Lots of Stalkers being warped in right now. He's going to create a bit of a concave for himself. The lurker count's actually pretty small as well, which means that these lurkers are going to fall. We have one more Disruptor shot. That's an interesting blink forward. Well, it's actually going to take out all of these lurkers. Loses 1 extra Disruptor as well. There's no more reinforcement here for Haas. Needs to walk them across the map. That Disruptor gets pulled in. I actually think that Haas might be doing it here. 70 workers against 69 for Haas. Plus 3 is almost down. Ragnarok is now pulling back. Is taking a different 4th base. I really felt like that as long as he would get to Vipers, have these lurkers out, he should be fine. But the lurker count just a little bit too small. No, he grabbed the wrong unit. Was a Disruptor right there in front of you shooting at you. You didn't quite grab it. Now the blink forward once again, and I think Haas can smell the victory. There is one more shot available. He's going to shoot it. Kills a single drone. It's not the greatest shot, but it is a shot nonetheless. GG gets called, and Haas wins this game. I'm surprised that Ragnarok wasn't going to play it out completely. I think Ragnarok believed that there was a 4th, even though he was aware that there wasn't. Look at this. Honestly, the income is completely even. You have 4 Vipers. And you still have 1 lurker. There's money for another lurker. Soon for 2 lurkers. You have plus 3 on the way. I'm not even sure if Ragnarok was completely dead. I mean, he had this building as well. It shows as cancelled, but that's just because he left. So he was just going to outmine his opponent if he would properly set his drones to mine. Because there was huge oversaturation going on Haas's side. I don't want to say that Ragnarok quit too early. Because it did look pretty bad. But I mean, with 4 Vipers and a lurker, there definitely was some hope, I believe. Oh well, we'll see what's going to happen in game number 2. Haas is up 1-0. Game number 2 over here on Blackburn. As once again we have Ragnarok opening up with that drone scout. Just making sure he's not getting proxied. Which is funny, because honestly, proxy gates against Zerg are really, really bad. I feel like it would be a lot better to just learn a response. And I'm pretty sure that Lambo has a video about that on YouTube. So if Ragnarok would have just Googled before the game how to beat proxy gate in PvZ, Lambo would have explained him in less than 7 minutes how to beat the proxy gate in PvZ. What is this patrol? Surely this isn't the area you would cannon now? Like, there would be a pylon here, 2 more pylons over here, and then 2 pylons here. There would be a 5 cannon wall. Does he just pick a random area maybe to patrol his drone on? I don't actually know if there's any good cannon locations, but I would, if you just look at it, it looks like there's a single pylon here, then double here. That would have a 4 pylon wall for a massive area where you can build cannons. So then I would say you patrol 1 over here. Maybe there's something here as well. Pylon. Nah, that's 2. Maybe here. Pylon. But this, it seems like a bad area, because any cannon that you put over here can't even reach the hatchery. I really do believe he just picks a random area to patrol his drone to make it look like he knows what he's blocking. But that was not good. It's really funny to watch this type of stuff with Zergs, because it feels like that if you're a Zerg, you really should know these things. But most tosses, because they sometimes cannon rush themselves, actually do understand these things. So whenever you see a cannon rush in PvP, you see like Protoss patrolling like 2 workers on the high ground, like over here, because of all these 3 pylon blocks, you know. There's just like 3 in a row. It's like, patrol 1 here, patrol 1 here. You patrol like 1 over here and 1 over here, because there's a lot of potential for those low ground cannons as well. And Zergs just pick a random location and start patrolling. Love to see it. Alright, what do we have here? Adept into Stargate, I think this was, because the warp gate definitely was delayed. Haas just gonna play something more standard, I assume. As he opens up with a Void Ray here. Didn't block his opponent's natural, by the way, which is interesting to see. But he did scout, so... oh, I like this as well. Ragnarok scouting all around the map for any potential proxies. This is really cool. Not quite sure I was using 2 Zerglings for that. Of course, could have been done with 1 Zergling. Just, maybe he's just waiting for a run by. He's actually gonna hit the run by. In that case, the double Zergling was brilliant. No. Can't hit the run by because the Adepts never made it across the map. Ragnarok should be able to spot that with this Overlord. The fact that there's nothing there, he's gonna move in and we'll lose both of the Zerglings. Also, we'll lose this Overlord. And now these Adepts are going to start moving out, which will force a response out of Ragnarok. Ragnarok had no links at home whatsoever. Good lord. Ah, okay. We'll see a pull out of gas here very quickly for Haas. The moment he hits 100 gas, I believe he should completely pull out of gas. Yep, that's exactly what we're gonna see. 1, 2, 3. Charge starts, and now comes the complete pull. Right, Haas? Or is this Adept? No, this has to be charge. Hello? We can start the upgrade, we have money. There we go, charge, pull out of gas. We don't need gas anymore at this point. I think. Like, we're not planning on building a single gas unit no more. But he just continues mining. Okay, here we go. Pulls out completely now. Takes a fake gas as well. The reason he takes this gas is actually really cool, because with links you can spot this assimilator. Or the lack of an assimilator. So if Ragnarok does that, the mind game will work. Look, he's even mining with 3 workers. Oh god, Haas. That is so funny. That is so funny. That is actually so cool. Okay, if this works, that would be super brilliant. I love that. Such a small detail that is so important here. Just the fact that he's also mining with it. With 3 workers in it. So, you kind of start doubting yourself. Another thing Haas could have done, by the way, is start +1 on air. He didn't, but he could have. A little bit of supply block here for Ragnarok. You see he wasn't ready for building roaches, because he didn't create a lot of Overlord space. He didn't create a lot of supply space. Now these Zealots are moving forward. That's a lot of Zealots. There's a Void Ray there with it as well. Prism moving forward. How many gates do we have? 8? 8 gateways. Okay, we're gonna get 5 extra zealots right now. 6 zealots can be warped in, maybe even a sentry. I wouldn't mind it, honestly. Oh, great positioning here out of Ragnarok. Using the drones to make sure that that surround on the queens doesn't happen. This was absolutely vital in the defense. Brilliant hold out of Ragnarok. That's game. I think that is completely over. What a great improvised wall here. That move was so good out of Ragnarok. That drone hold position was crazy. What a great hold. What a great hold. That was beautiful. If these zealots get the full charge surround on these queens, I think every single queen actually goes down there. The Void Ray will stay alive, and then the Void Ray will start targeting roaches that are coming by. This game is completely different. Oh, Ragnarok, you still need the micro though. You still need the kite. Hello? We're on creep. What are we doing? Oh, he thought he could just straight up fight. You always need the kite against zealots with roaches. That's just free damage you're negating there. He was a little bit too confident there. I think he's still fine because the queen count is so ridiculously high. We have spores in pretty decent positions. I like that move a lot. Ragnarok, great anticipation. He really had a good response against this build. Messes it up in the execution after the great start though. And now there's zealots in every single base. Haas considering taking a third base perhaps, as he kills a crap ton of workers here. This single zealot is definitely doing some work as well. Look at this bad boy. 8 worker kills, 9, 10, 11. GG gets called as Haas taps out. And that probably was a necessity here. But he was up in workers at the end and still had quite some money in the bank as well. So I wouldn't have minded if he tried. Alas, he didn't. It is what it is. Alright, score 1-1. Let's hop into the third and final game of this best of 3. Alrighty, game number 3 here between Haas and Ragnarok will be played on this beautiful map of Berlingrad. So Ragnarok's opening up with a hatch first, I think. Yeah, does seem to be the case. And we'll follow this up most likely with a quick pull as well. I wonder if he gets like a pull before extractor or something like that. Sometimes Zergs make these really weird adjustments when they're playing against someone they're afraid of. Like Haas. Haas is someone to definitely be afraid of. Nah, it's just going to be extractor into pool here. Alright. Haas is going to throw down his own Nexus as well. And we'll see what he has in store. It's a smaller map. I'd be surprised to see another Void Ray opener. Of course, that Void Ray opener was a bit of a front as well. It wasn't a real Void Ray opener. It was just a charge lot all in. And the Void Ray was just there to hide it. The Void Ray was kind of functioning as an expensive stalker in a way, you know? Like here, my friend. This is a huge stalker that can chase your overlords over cliffs. That's really all it was. Cybercore goes down as well. Really curious to see what Haas has it. Well. So many lag, can't play. GG. Well, that's a terrible ending for this best of 3. I was not aware of this. Well, yeah, that's a bit awkward. Well, Ragnarok wins. Congratulations to him. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know. I hope you still enjoyed the other 2 games. This is a very disappointing ending, though. I do understand it. Sometimes, I guess, from where Haas lives, he gets a slightly higher ping. And if this was played on Korea, which I assume it was, in that case, that the ping can get pretty high, maybe for whatever reason. Maybe it has something to do with his own unstable internet connection as well. That is very unfortunate. And a lot of you will think, well, why doesn't he just play it out? He played the last 2 games, well, kind of just fine. Why wouldn't he just try this one? Sometimes it feels so frustrating to have to play with a bad internet connection, and you'll get so kind of pre-tilted from the fact that you constantly need to keep it in mind. As an example, whenever I play on West, I really dislike using oracles, and because they're just really tricky to micro with like 180, 190 ping. So whenever you play against a Zerg, all of your builds get really limited because I can't really throw in any type of oracle builds, and I don't feel comfortable controlling my oracles. And same in PvT, I wouldn't feel comfortable opening up with Blink Stalkers on West, because I feel like the micro that I can do in the mid game is just so much worse than I usually do. So I'm almost always limited to playing like Phoenix openers, which just feels absolutely awful. And then on top of that, if you also start getting spies, I really do understand why he would leave. So yeah, I understand. I understand why he does it. Obviously, I would have preferred if he stayed in and played, but yeah, it is what it is. All right, once again, I'm very sorry for this, but I can't really help it. Well, I could have not uploaded it, but that is not what I do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the other 2 games, and I'll see all of you once again in the future, hopefully, for another video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye-bye.